Okay, so we had barbecued pork ribs for dinner this evening, and although we fought bravely, they outnumbered us. So I've got some leftover ribs. I'm going to pull the meat off of this, and tomorrow we're going to make steamed pork buns. Okay, so these have cooled down, so it is really just a case of pull the meat away from the bones. Now, I'm just going to separate that into 2 bowls, because the bones won't go to waste either. I'm going to put those in my stock pot. Okay, so that was a bit messy, but we've got a nice big bowl of pork meat, nice crispy bark on it. And we've got a bowl of pork bones. Those won't go to waste. Those are going to go in a bag in the freezer, and next time I need to make stock, those will go in the stock pot. For our steamed pork buns, we're going to need some bread dough. So really simple recipe for bread dough. This is just one that I use that's really quick, and it is just some strong white bread flour. So we're going to go for 450 grams. Fast action bread yeast, just 1 sachet in there. 2 teaspoons full of sugar. Not strictly necessary, but I'm trying to make a slightly sweetish dough here. Tiny little bit of vegetable oil, probably about a tablespoonful. And about half a teaspoonful of salt. Then we're just going to mix those ingredients together, like so, and then we'll just make a bit of a well in the middle, and then we've got 350 ml of lukewarm water, just from the kettle I boiled earlier that's cooled down. There we go. Right, so, and then I'm just going to stir that together, making sure I get right to the bottom so that we don't end up with any dry flour right at the bottom of the dough. And I'm just mixing that together with a knife. And there we go. I'm just going to leave that like that. Now at the moment that's quite a sticky dough, but don't worry about that, because as the moisture expands the starch grains, it will become less sticky. But that's all the mixing it requires right now. So I'm just going to put a lid on that, leave that for an hour. Meanwhile, let's prepare the filling. So this is the leftover pork that I've got from yesterday, and I want to sweeten that a little bit. So I've got some apricot jam and a bit of hoisin sauce as well. So this is not an authentic recipe we're following here, but it works for me. And then the pork, I'm just going to dice it up into very small pieces. I don't want it chopped so that there's no texture, but I do want it to mix quite thoroughly with the sauce. So just finely dicing that up. Notice I set aside this little bit here because there's actually, I can see a bit of gristle in there. From pork ribs you sometimes get these little gristly bits, and I don't think I'll put that in the buns. So we have enough pork there. I'll set those little bits aside for someone who's waiting just over there. Sit. Okay, so we've got the chopped pork there in a bowl. I've got, well, probably about 2 tablespoons of apricot jam. Maybe not enough actually. Let's see if we can find something else to go in there as well. Perfect. I've got some damson jam here, so plums and pork, well, damson, just perfect. So we've got about 3 tablespoons full of jam. Oh, let's go for 4 because I do like it nice and sweet and fruity. And then I've got some hoisin sauce. It's just a bottle of hoisin sauce I picked up at the Asian deli. I'll go for about 3 tablespoons of that. It's not very precise mixing. It doesn't need to be, because what we're going to do is give this a stir round and then taste it. And if it needs a bit more sweetness, we'll add some sugar. If it needs a bit more acidity, we might go in with some sherry vinegar or a bit of soy sauce if it needs salt. We'll see how we get on. But that looks about the right consistency for what I want. Let's have a taste. That's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to cover that up, put that in the fridge until the bread dough's ready. To protect these buns from falling through the steamer, I'm just going to prepare some little squares of greaseproof paper. Okay, I've also got this stainless steel tray, and it happens to be just the right size to take this wire rack. So we'll fill the bottom of this tray with hot water, we'll put the greaseproof paper on top of here, the buns on top of that, and then that will bake in the oven, but it will also steam. So let's take a look at the dough. So that's been proving first time round for about an hour, and it's doubled in size, but it's a very soft and sticky dough. So let's get some flour together and we'll give it a little knead. Okay, at the moment that's a really soft and actually probably too wet dough, but don't worry about that. We're going to work it a little bit, and in doing so we will actually be just working a bit more flour into it. And this kneading serves to knock the large air bubbles out of the dough so that we can be assured of some kind of evenness of rising. So that's good, it's looking good. So we've got the pork mixture that we mixed up earlier. Let's have a look at that. And that's just marinated a little bit further in those sauces. So we're just going to get that pork mixture. We're going to put probably about that much inside each bun. So let's just get started. So we'll chop off a little bit of dough, about that much. So that's about a handful of dough. And we're just going to form it into a circle. Now I don't want to make it too thin, or else the pork will just push through the dough. And then we're just going to put a bit of filling on the top there, like that. And then we bring the top around. There's really no need for rolling or anything like that. We're just bringing those bits together like that. And then pinch it together into a ball. And then the greaseproof paper tiny little bit of vegetable oil on there, and the bun upside down so the join is underneath, and that will help it to seal. And then that will go on the wire rack. So there we go, so that's the steam pork buns in the tray waiting to prove, and we'll just add the water through the gaps there before we bake. So it's been about 20 minutes since I made these, and they've already started to puff up again, which is great. Oven's up to temperature, and so we're just going to now brush them on the top with a little bit of milk, just to give them a bit of a glaze, and just so they brown up a little bit on top. That just helps them to brown. It'll also keep the top of the dough softer for longer, which gives them more chance to expand in the oven. So I'm just going to brush them all with a nice generous splash of milk. Did I get them all? Yeah, I think so. And then the final thing is we've got the kettle boiled. I'm just going to top up the bottom of this tray with about 2 centimetres of boiling water. That's going to go into an oven at 200°C for about 20 to 25 minutes. Okay, so these have been in for about half an hour now. Let's have a look. Oh, perfect. So we'll just check one. Yeah, they sound hollow and they haven't exploded, so that's perfect. So we're just going to set them there and let them rest for a little while before we serve them. But they're nice and crusty on top and steamy, almost like dumplings underneath. Okay, so we've got some lovely soup, but let's have a look at one of these steamed pork buns now. They're just soft and a little bit doughy underneath, but still slightly crispy on top. So let's just cut one in half and see what they're like inside. Oh, look at that. So lovely and soft, but slightly doughy and dumplingy bread inside, stuffed with juicy pork in a Chinese style sauce. Let's just give it a taste. That's really good. So that's how to make steamed pork buns. Now, I don't claim that these are authentic. They are styled after the Chinese steamed pork buns that I like, that I can get locally. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.